So, in response to the rapid urbanization and large scale immigration of American cities, um, a movement that's closely tied to the social gospel began. The settlement house movement was a movement to Americanize or assimilate and really provide aid for these new immigrants. It was led by middle class, college educated women, and they built these settlement houses right in the middle of urban centers, and they provided social services to immigrants primarily. They taught them English, they taught them like cooking skills, they offered some like occupational skills, but it was really cultural, um, a movement to assimilate them into the American culture. They'd help these women get their kids enrolled in school. They'd help them find housing. So it was aid. And then some of these middle class reformers were nurses, and they offered other healthcare social services to these immigrant communities. So Jane Addams is one of the most well-known organizers of a settlement house, and the settlement house that she's known for was founded in Chicago, and it's called Hull House. Now let's quickly review the idea and concept of the social gospel that seemed to be the inspiration for the settlement house movement. The social gospel movement was a Protestant American revival movement that kind of preached salvation through social work or through helping others through charitable actions. So, services to the poor. And this was strongly linked to the settlement house movement, the social gospel movement linked to the movement to aid the urban poor in the creation of these settlement houses. And there were settlement houses in many major cities. In Virginia, there was one of the largest settlement houses that aided the African American urban poor. Okay, so now the political machine. As the phrase coined by Mark Twain exposes, the Gilded Age is this age of widespread corruption, political and economic corruption, that is hidden by economic prosperity, the boom in economic prosperity. So as the cities grow, it creates this political vacuum that the political machines can kind of feel. Political machines feel this political vacuum. So the needs of the urban cities are great, and there are a few people responding to those needs, and politicians take advantage of that by aiding urban poor and becoming extremely powerful in America's urban centers. So political machines are usually a political party that controls the activities of politics in a city. It's made up of like a hierarchy. You have your ward bosses, your precinct captains, and then the city boss. And the most well-known of these political machines is New York City's Democratic political machine that was headquartered at Tammany Hall, and Boss Tweed is its most notorious political boss. And Nast, Thomas Nast, is responsible for bringing down Boss Tweed, and he does this through political cartoons. Most people in New York City at this time can't read, are illiterate, but they can view and interpret the political cartoons that are created by Nast, and he's responsible for bringing down Boss Tweed. These bosses control government jobs, and it's one of the ways that they're able to maintain power is through graft. Okay, graft is like the accepting of bribes. Well, you take bribes and you give something in return. You can give these government jobs. They also have control of licenses for businesses. They influence the local court system. So these political machines are usually controlled by a political party, and they exchange favors. Now, I want to press what we already know. Political machines do good things for the community. They offer social services, particularly to these new immigrants who have no connection, no means when they come into these major cities. They connect them with ethnic communities. They connect them with job opportunities and housing. And let's say that somebody in the family gets hurt on a job and can't work. Well, in exchange for political allegiance, they might give them, some government job or offer monetary aid to the family. So they help immigrants, they help them with the naturalization process, they help them find jobs and housing in exchange for votes and in exchange for their political loyalties. Okay, so graft and scandal. So obviously, the whole idea of the political machine is not democratic. Okay, and so corruption is at the foundation of the political machine. These machines use fake names. They intimidate opposing political parties when they come to vote at the voting booths. They intimidate them. They allow for multiple voting, voting under the names of dogs and the deceased and that sort of thing. So the elections are rigged and they're frauds. So graft, mentioned already, is a bribe. It's very common within the political machine. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. One of the most well-known grafts in Boss Tweed's political machine is the building of Tammany Hall. So they charge 3 times. They charge the city, okay, it's built by tax dollars, so they charge 3 times the cost of what it would actually have cost the city to build the courthouse. And where does this money go to? It goes into the pockets of those in the high rungs of the political machine. So that's the kickback or graft. The Tweed Ring and Tammany Hall. You guys should already know this through the lesson that you've read through, but Tweed was sentenced to 12 years in jail. He was released, escaped to Spain. He was recognized in Spain because of the wide circulation of Thomas Nast political cartoons. Okay, so because of the exposing of corruption, we see a movement to change this patronage system. Okay, so the patronage system is that system of giving government jobs to your friends, and that goes all the way back to Andrew Jackson with the spoils system. The patronage system, giving government jobs to friends. Okay, there is a movement to change that, especially after the assassination of President Garfield, after one of his political supporters, who was a madman, was angered, and because he didn't receive a job, Garfield was assassinated. And so especially after that, there is this movement, a push to change the patronage system. And the Pendleton Civil Service Act is passed by Congress in 1883, which establishes qualifications for government jobs, and we even see the civil service exams put in place. So you have to pass an exam in order to get a government or a certain job in the government, or you have to meet certain qualifications. You can't just get a job based on who you know. So this is an attempt to change. Okay, so read the question and the answer options. Pause the screen. So you should have decided that the merit system implemented for civil service hiring was the Pendleton Civil Service Act, D.